for the men and women who serve us in the Coast Guard. And without your leadership, it would also not be so bipartisan and not be coming up as soon as it has. So we want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. In particular, I want to express, of course, my support for H.R. 3409 and, again, the inclusive and bipartisan agreement that the members of the committee have reached. By increasing funding for the Coast Guard in this 2-year authorization, our committee is sending a strong signal of support for the men and women serving in the Coast Guard and the important mission they undertake on a daily basis. From drug interdiction to maritime law enforcement, from environmental protection to search and rescue, the Coast Guard continues to prove its effectiveness while operating with limited resources. This legislation sends the message that every dollar is a dollar well spent with regard to the U.S. Coast Guard. I'm also pleased that this bill contains key priorities for the communities I represent in the Hudson Valley, including language to ensure that those communities, those river communities in particular, have been heard, and that the Hudson River does not become a parking lot for oil barges. This important legislation includes provisions that will further strengthen the Coast Guard by expanding the use of unmanned systems, assessing Coast Guard operational authorities, strengthening shore infrastructure, and increasing gender and racial diversity within the Coast Guard. The bill also includes several provisions aimed to bolster the U.S. flagged maritime industry. It updates and streamlines certain requirements on domestic trading vessels, reaffirms the Jones Act, and begins the process of fully enforcing and increasing cargo preference. I'm proud to be an original co-sponsor of this important legislation, and I look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman, with the other leaders in this committee to ensure that the key provisions included in the bill become law. So thank you again for your leadership, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield back.